Howdy y'all, I'm Ashley Maverick, and today I'm going to be talking about how to get a master's degree. I chose this topic because this is the next step in my life plan, my next goal to achieve once I get my bachelor's. So I thought some of you might be thinking about this as well and might be interested in how to do it. I'm going to talk about a few different things. I want to talk about multidisciplinary degrees and trying to find a compatibility between that, because it's not always easy to go from a more generalized degree such as multidisciplinary to a more specific one such as a master's. We're going to look at trying to pick where you want to be, and then I'm going to give you a couple examples of some schools that I looked into, and then I'll just wrap it up for you. So for compatibility, you really want to think about trying to find a flexible program. You don't want to pick something that is very specific in its requirements. Some master's degrees require that you know a specific kind of engineering or have been studying some very in-depth math. And in fact, some degrees require that you have a certain level of hours in a certain field in order to qualify. So you want to try and find something that will really work with a multidisciplinary degree. So you have to think of what you have to work with. What I have to work with is English, theater, and then my associates, which is in education. So, for example, I tried to find something that worked with writing and reading and with theater and mostly theatrical writing. So I tried to find something to mix those two. A lot of y'all have communications, so you might look at, if you have like English and communication, you might look at journalism. That has a lot to do with writing, and then communications, so you could look at like a journalist's master's or something like that. But you can kind of just look around. What I did was narrow down the schools that were options for me and look at what degrees they had to offer and try and find something that really fit with me. It's gonna vary from person to person, and sometimes it just takes a long time to find something that's really a good fit for you. But I would always ask people you know who've been to grad school, because they're gonna have great advice for you. Let's see. So locations. I think this is a big factor, because if you are just thinking, I want to get a master's and I want to get whatever, wherever, it's really daunting to try and find a school to apply for, or schools to apply for, because really you should try and apply for more than one. But if you're able to find something, for me it was location, but you could even, if you wanted to say do Ivy League, or if you only wanted to do state schools, you could use something like that to be your first determinator. But for me, locations was what stuck out. So I thought, I used to live overseas. I worked as an au pair in the Middle East, and when I was there, then it really taught me how important family and being close to family and friends as well was to me. So from that experience, I decided I wanted to stay in Central Texas, near my parents, my siblings, my nieces and nephews, my grandparents. I wanted to be able to see them on Easter and on Christmas. So I decided to stay somewhere where that would be easier. You might decide you don't want to be near family. Or you might decide, I've always wanted to live up in like the New Hampshire area. So you'll look there. Whatever your reasoning is, that's a great start, because if you can start narrowing down your field, then you can really start doing some serious research into where you want to go. once you have an area or a specific type of school that you're going to, maybe it's a school that focuses on liberal arts, so you're looking at liberal arts schools, then pick some out. Pick some out to research. Say, okay, I'm going to look at this school, that school, that school. Pick maybe 10 schools to look into, and then look further. Do what I mentioned earlier. Look at all the degrees that they offer and see, is this the kind of degree I'm looking for? Does this fit with not only my bachelor's, but does this fit with my goals, with what I want to do and with what I want to be? Is this going to help me achieve those goals? So look at what's offered. Another option to do is online. This is a great option. However, I have been advised by my advisor here at Concordia and a couple other people that if you have the option not to do it online, then don't, because while online is rising in popularity, it's not always necessarily viewed as greatly on a resume if it's not an accredited university in the same way. So if possible, avoid online, but it's not a bad option. If that's all that you can do, if you've got 3 kids you're raising at home and you're just trying to, learn more and stay in school, but you can't be going to classes every day, online is a great option for that. So we're going to look at UT Austin and at Texas State because those are the 2 that I chose to use as my examples. They're the 2 that I'm seriously considering applying for. At UT, the one I chose is called Performance. I included a little quote about what that degree really is. Students examine a wide range of performances, text, and embodied practices in order to consider the myriad of ways in which performance both reflects and makes cultural, historical, and political meanings. This stuck out to me because of the text, which I mentioned to you, but it's also a theater degree. So you can see all I did, and I've got all the links that I used in the last slide and my sources, so you can even just look at that and see where I found this information directly. But you just click on the degree you want to go to, and it'll show you what's the deadline, what's required. You're going to need transcripts, you're going to need a GRE, you're going to need to write some essays, but you're going to need a resume. Each school is going to be a little bit different in what they require from you. Most schools are going to require at least like a 2.5, 2.75 GPA, but a lot of graduate degrees are going to want you to have something higher than that. Or they may say that they require a 2.75, but if they've got 100 people applying for 10 spots and 50 of them have a 3.5 or higher, that could be a big deal breaker. So definitely GPA can be important, and if you have any way to improve yours, I would work on that. Talk with professors, how can I get extra credit, anything you can do to boost your GPA. And if you can't do that, then boost your resume, volunteer, and get new skills that you can put on your resume. Maybe you take a class in computers so that you have a better understanding of Excel and PowerPoint. But find other ways to make yourself a more appealing applicant. So one other thing is UT specifically is, since it's a state school, it's not that expensive. It's a lot more expensive to go to the undergrad. It's closer to $14,000 a year, which doesn't sound like a lot when you're comparing it to Concordia, but for the grad school it's even less. So it's about $4,200 to $15,200 about, and that's for 2 semesters. That's what I had to pay for this last semester because I did a trip in the summer. So really it's pretty affordable. A lot of grad schools also offer TA type positions, and that's something you're going to want to go and meet with the professors before you're applying so they can put a face to the name. unless you're applying at Concordia, it's very unlikely that anyone at the school you're applying to knows you. So it's always helpful when you're applying to kind of get a foot in the door and go introduce yourself. Go say, hey, I'm applying to be in your program. I'm really excited about it. When you look on the website, it'll show you who's the head of that degree, and find them. Go talk to them. Introduce yourself. Ask them if they're free for coffee. Learn about their lives. Let them learn about you a little bit. Then the other school I looked at is, I hope that didn't mess it up. My phone just kind of blipped. The other school I looked at was Texas State. I looked at the dramatic writing degree, which you can already tell from the title is kind of perfect for what I was going for. It says the MFA degree options expand the skills of students, preparing them to work in regional and national theaters and to teach at the university level. I eventually want to become a professor, so that teaching at the university level in dramatic writing is really suited to what I want. So you might not necessarily come across something that so perfectly goes with what you want, but as you can see, even though I had kind of a weird degree to go with, this fits what I'm looking for. So it is possible to find stuff. Let's see. So for Texas State, it was very similar. They had a few more requirements, but their deadline is in March rather than in December for UT. So I have a little more leeway if I want to apply. Both of them, of course, are going to require your bachelor's degree. This one had a specific GPA listed. I don't think UT did, or maybe it was on a website that I couldn't find. They have some specific test scores that they want you to have. They want your resume, a statement of purpose, and letters of recommendation. This one's a little more expensive. However, if you notice, UT was 9 hours. This is 10 hours that they're guessing you're going to be taking. It's kind of like on Concordia, it says, your tuition based on however many hours. Most students take 15 hours or 12 hours. So they say most grad students take 9 or 10 hours. Texas State said 10, UT said 9. Each school's probably going to say one of those two numbers, but maybe more or less. So theirs is a little more expensive, $8,200 for the 2 semesters, so about 20 hours. So it's really a lot of personal research, but I'm hoping that by showing you what I did, what I looked into, you'll get a feel for not only how to find these websites, but how to kind of read through everything and pick out what's important, okay? Looking at what's required of me to apply. Where do I apply? How do I find degrees? How do I find a school? What's it going to cost me? All those things they're really not that difficult to find. It's a lot of matter of talking to people and getting advice on what you need to do. If you can find someone to mentor you, that'll be phenomenally helpful. So I just say good luck to you in whatever you end up doing, whether it's getting a master's or stopping at your bachelor's or going even further onto a doctorate or something. Say best of luck, and never feel shy to ask for help. Because if you think about it, I'm always willing to lend a helping hand, and I know most people are. So if you're asking, the other person probably feels the same and really would love to help you.